So why don't I ask, I'll introduce, well, first of all, hi, I'm Colleen Ryan. I'm the Consulting Executive Director for the New York State CDFI Coalition. And I'm very glad to see you all here. Why don't I start by introducing Linda MacFarlane, who is the board chair, and we'll have her call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Colleen. Welcome everyone to our 2021 annual meeting. I now have the pleasure of calling the meeting to order.
Thank you, Linda.
Nancy, all right, do you want to take over or do you want me to run through?
Actually,
I'm going to ask for some help here because I'm not in front of my normal office. I got tied up at a meeting earlier this morning. So if you could go through the minutes, that would be super helpful.
Nancy is operating a motor vehicle right now. So I will just, Linda, do you want to ask for if everyone?
Certainly. Yeah, so if everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes of our March 19th meeting, I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes.
I so move.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote to approve. Please say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll now move to the report of the nominating committee. Aisha?
Yes, hello, good, I guess it's afternoon now, everyone. In March, the nominating committee advanced 2 candidates for board membership in response to retirement and a term ending. Javier Zapata from Pathstone and Giovanna Bracchi from La Fuerza Unida. Hebert Van Tol gave a brief endorsement for Javier, and Kim and myself, who have worked with Giovanna before, endorsed her membership. So both candidates were elected to the board. Last year, during the height of the pandemic, the board neglected to vote on renewals of terms for members. So the following slate of candidates were advanced by me and seconded by Melanie and unanimously approved. For those with terms expiring in June of 2021, it is Giovanna Bracchi, Charles Hammerman, Kimberlie Jacobs, Valerie White, and Javier Zapata. For terms expiring in June of 2022, we have Howard Banker, Nancy Carin, John Felton, Carin Haycox, Jules Hebert, and Linda MacFarlane. And for terms expiring in June of 2023, we have myself, Jessie Lee, Greg Maher, Melanie Stern, and Yanki Tshering. Yep, go ahead.
Does anyone have any questions on the report of the nominating committee? Hearing none, on behalf of the chair, I would ask for a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Moved by Charlie in a second.
Second.
Second by Jessie. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? The nominating committee report is accepted, and thank you.
Great. So we have some additional news. So we have the officers. Should I do that now as well?
Let's do members first, since the members vote on the officers.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so we do have candidates for terms expiring June of 2021, and they've all agreed to serve another term. And again, those are Giovanna Bracchi, Charles Hammerman, Kimberlie Jacobs, Valerie White, and Javier Zapata.
That's great. Are there any nominations from the floor? Come on, I know you're all dying to join the board. Hearing none, I would ask the secretary to advance the slate of candidates put forth by the nominating committee. And I don't know if Nancy can actually hear us right now. Yes, there's Nancy. Do you advance the slate? I see her nodding.
Yeah,
okay, we're going to take.
I totally advanced the slate. I hereby advance the slate.
Thank you. On the vote, on the candidates advanced by the secretary, Nancy Carin, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any discussion, any abstentions? Congratulations, the members have all been returned to the board. And now, Aisha, if you want to move on to the election of officers, that would be great.
Yes, so the nominating committee has candidate for offices of the board for 2021 to 2022. And those are our president, Linda MacFarlane, our secretary, Nancy Carin, and treasurer, Kim Jacobs. Our vice president slot was open. And as my last act of chair of the nominating committee, I want to report the nomination by my colleagues as candidate for the post of vice president, which I've accepted. So that would round out the slate. So again, it's Linda MacFarlane as president, myself as vice president, Nancy Carin as secretary, and Kim Jacobs as treasurer.
And so I will ask Nancy to advance that slate.
I hereby advance the slate of the candidates for the officers of the board as was just shared.
Thank you very much. And on that,
I second the Howard. I second that motion.
thank you, Howie. I appreciate that. Any nominations from the floor? Step right up. Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any discussion or abstentions? Thank you very much. That concludes the work of the nominating committee and the election of members and officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's the hardest part. Everything else from here is gravy. So just everybody can relax now. It is my great pleasure now to welcome our first guest speaker for this program. And I'm not even going to try to pretend that I've memorized this. I'm not going to be looking at the camera and trying to wing this. I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to read it. Cliff Rosenthal is a nationally and internationally recognized leader and innovator in bringing financial services to low-income communities and consumers through credit unions. He is the author of Democratizing Finance, The Origins of the Community Development Financial Institutions Movement, published in 2018. During a career spanning more than 30 years as CEO of the National Federation of Community Development Credit Unions, now inclusive, he authored the first concept paper for the establishment of the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund of the U.S. Treasury Department. He co-founded and for 2 decades was a leader of the National CDFI Coalition. Under his direction, the Federation invested more than $100 million in local credit unions, with funds raised from the CDFI Fund, social and religious investors, major banks, and foundations. In the process, he transformed the Federation into a well-capitalized, sustainable nonprofit organization that supports low-income financial cooperatives throughout the country. From 2014 to 2018, he was a visiting scholar at the Milano School of International Affairs, Management, and Urban Policy of the New School in New York City. In 2019, he was appointed a visiting scholar of the Center for the Study of Brooklyn at Brooklyn College, City University of New York. And in 2021, as the capstone, I'm sure, of his illustrious and storied career, he agreed to serve on the advisory committee for the New York State CDFI Coalition. And I'm very happy to welcome Cliff Rosenthal to talk to us this afternoon. Cliff.
Thank you. If you don't hear me, can't hear me, show your ears. Okay, great. So I'm glad to be with you today, but I'm really looking forward to talking to you next year. If you are longtime veterans of the CDFI field, and I know some of you are, you may remember our earliest dreams and struggles. If not, you'll find them in my book. But what so strikes me and what is so obvious is how far as a field we've come over 30 years, far beyond the dreams that we, and certainly I, had back in the early 1990s. When I first proposed the fund in about 1986, I modestly asked for $25 million, some of which would come from banks. When we started working with the Clinton administration and the press, the Wall Street Journal specifically asked us, how much do you guys think that you can really absorb? And we said, oh God, I don't know, any idea? And we said, $1 billion, maybe we could absorb $1 billion. And then that got reduced to 382 million. And the first year was 50 million that actually came out. So here we are with more than $12 billion available in new money and a promising stream of additional funding for various programs. You know, so many things strike me about this, and as I said, I am so eager to see, what next year looks like. there have been these really unprecedented breakthroughs with corporate and impact investing support from organizations that I never thought would be players in their field. But, you know, from my perspective, to what is especially welcome, and I would not have predicted this, is the focus on the needs of long neglected Black and minority financial institutions. There's been a kind of targeting and focus that, you know, I'd been advocating for many years, and I'm really so glad to see how the appropriations came out. The way that the fund is putting out money also is just short of revolutionary. I mean, the fact that it would finally have a round of non-competitive funding that would really make it possible for the smallest institutions without grant writers on staff and so forth to, you know, to get significant capital. I thought actually it was a brilliant innovation, and I never could have foreseen that. So looking forward to next year, I mean, this is going to be, it seems to me, a year of transformation of our field. This is the big opportunity for CDFIs to make a large, indelible impact on inclusion, on bringing in communities and people in our field that have been outside before. For many, many years, so many of us have said, oh, if only we had X dollars, if only we had more, and so forth. Well, it's not going to solve all the problems, but certainly there's a lot more out there than there's ever been. And I really expect that people are going to innovate. They'll do research and development. They'll reach out to different communities. They'll find ways to do underwriting that they haven't been able to do in the past. And that the faces of the field itself, CDFIs, will become diversified. So I'm absolutely fascinated with trying to look at a 1 year down the road and look back and see what's been accomplished, because I think it's going to be amazing. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Cliff, and thank you for agreeing to serve on our advice.
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions for Cliff or comments? All right.
I had
Then,
a question,
sure. Go ahead, Greg.
Colleen. It's Greg. Cliff, I'm curious about your thoughts about the impact of the recent giving to certain CDFIs by Mackenzie Scott, and sort of the large chunks of capital that several CDFIs received. Not so much the process for that, although you can talk about that. My understanding, the process was very much, you know, unknown to these organizations. But sort of the impacts of those large infusions of capital, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm interested in the process, and I've seen some of the critiques of it and some of the unanticipated negative effects. I mean, scams and so forth on it. So I don't know whether this is going to be, you know, repeated so much in the future. I don't have a comprehensive list of the amounts and so forth, and you know, I really think that we're not going to be able to assess whether this has been, you know, a good way to go for you know, for another year. So it's amazing. It was in the form of equity, as I understand it, to most institutions, and as we all know, that's been the most pressing need for, you know, for the institutions that we serve. So all that was great, but you know, no good deed goes unpunished. I doubt that she's going to be punished, but you know, there has been that kind of critique.
Thanks.
Hey Cliff, it's Melanie. I have a question. So I haven't seen, you know, I'm sure like everybody been on a myriad of calls of agendas and people wanting to advance minority-owned businesses and the like, but I rarely see any advocacy around the CFPB. I got that backwards. Consumer protection. Yeah, anyway, and for those of us who do small dollar lending, it seems like a neglected opportunity.
In terms of the CFPB? What
Advocacy around, well, you know, I was just on a call yesterday with a group of B Corps talking about their agenda to work with the Biden administration, and they mentioned CRA, they mentioned CDFIs, they mentioned, but nobody seems to be looking at the consumer piece of the needs.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't have to tell you that the administration has changed since the election, which is enormously encouraging to me. One of the people who literally worked, 3 feet from me at the bureau has been nominated. So I think one thing that you will see is the increased focus on data collection for serving small businesses and minority businesses and so forth. This has taken a really long time for that to fully mature. So I think that will, you'll see more discussion and more inquiry into that. And in terms of consumers, unfortunately, I mean, there have been just a whole lot of scandals and scams and things like that have emerged in the last year. So there's sort of a never-ending new crop of things for the Bureau to investigate. And specifically, I think, and fearfully, we're going to see such a wave of foreclosures that it's going to be dreadful. And there will certainly be abuses in it. And now I think, I feel confident that the new leadership of the CFPB is going to be able to take a much more aggressive role than its predecessors would have conceived of doing.
Great. Thank you, Cliff. So we will have other opportunities to chat with Cliff as time goes on. We are so happy that he has agreed to help add his wisdom to our advisory committee. So we'll look to stand that up in the coming months. We haven't, it's not super formalized yet, but we were very glad to have him here with us today. So thank you. And now let me turn back over to Linda Rosenthal, or Linda MacFarlane. Linda MacFarlane,
okay.
Right? Mrs. Rosenthal. Speaking for her president's report. Thank you, Linda.
Happy to be related to you, Cliff. Thank you, Cliff, for speaking to us today. We always enjoy hearing from you. As I look at 2020, sort of a year in review, I wasn't quite sure how to summarize it. The year gave us, of course, the coronavirus global health crisis. It gave us the shutdown of schools, of businesses, of essential services, of transportation. And we were all thrown into facing a limited supply of common household commodities like toilet paper. And then came the senseless deaths of Black men and women, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks, Breonna Taylor. And all of that was then followed by the very important Black Lives Matter movement. And then the unfortunate riots that seem to be destroying the very same small businesses that were devastated by the global pandemic. And where were we as CDFIs in all of this? We were fighting for every small business. We were fighting for every immigrant, for every minority, and fighting for every person who needed financial assistance. We were thrown right into PPP, EIDL, grants management, New York Forward, and all the while we were trying to get our own CDFIs funded and grants in place. As the blur of the year 2020 closed, I was very grateful and still am to have spent Friday afternoons with my colleagues on the New York State CDFI board. We supported each other, we vented and complained to each other, and we shared best practices, which helped all of us to manage our respective CDFIs better. Together, we assisted more people who needed us than I think we can reasonably count. And as we're into 2021, and as we're moving through this year and trying to help all of our small businesses and other people that we serve through our respective CDFIs, my motto for 2021 is telling people, don't be afraid to start over. We all are. Don't be afraid. It's a chance to build something better this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for your insight, for your vision, and for your leadership. It's been quite a year, and we're so glad that you've been at the helm of this coalition. Linda alluded to something about these Friday meetings of the members of the coalition that we'll be sharing with you a little bit more under new business. So stay tuned for that at the end of the program. I have good news and bad news regarding the treasurer's report. The good news is that we have a treasurer's report. The bad news is that the treasurer is on a plane So that's great because people are traveling again. I believe she's on the way to her daughter's wedding. So people are getting married again. It's all good. So in the interest of reporting out, Kim Jacobs has asked me to basically share a summary of the report that she gave last March. We run on a calendar year, so January to January, and I will share the screen so that you can all see the operating budget of the New York State CDFI Coalition, which is very modest over the past 3 years, including an aspirational budget for this year. Okay, so there's the budget with 2021 on your far right. So as Kim said, despite the pandemic, the coalition had a good year, thanks in large part to the support of our sponsors who did not claw back their pledges for the in-person annual meeting when we pivoted to a virtual meeting. The coalition is living within its means and accomplishing a lot, including getting some important legislation passed, having a successful virtual conference series, and growing our membership. The profile of the organization and its member entities has been raised, and all in all, it has been a pretty good year for CDFIs. The 2021 budget is a guide for the year with the understanding that numbers may change. There are additional opportunities and obligations on the horizon, including the CDFI Investor Club effort with Impact Finance Center and diversity, equity, and inclusion training that we'll discuss under new business that we will undertake fundraising around. So very briefly, that is our budget. We're not a high finance organization. So if anyone has any questions, and I know Howie Banker is on the call and he is on our finance team, our finance committee. So if anyone has questions about the budget of the New York State CDFI Coalition, this would be a great time to ask them. And I'm not seeing all of you, so I'll just leave this budget up for a moment longer. Why don't I stop sharing? And does anyone have questions now that I can see you all again? I'll say no. Okay, so on behalf of the chair, do I have a motion to accept the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
So moved by Aisha, and I saw a hand up from Nancy, so I'll take that as a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? Okay, so the report of the treasurer is accepted, and I thank you for that. It's not quite 12:30 yet, so let's go ahead to committee reports, and I see Melanie is here, although her video is off. So I will call upon Melanie Stern to come back on camera and give us the membership committee report.
Thanks, Colleen. So I'll tell you where we are and then make a pitch. To date, we have 25 paid members. That is out of 81 New York State CDFIs, so just under a third. We do have several folks who have traditionally been members, and we're assuming that this just may have slipped somehow, so we're hoping that folks do renew. And of course, as importantly, we're hoping that all of you on the call who are not currently members will consider membership in the coalition. And as I said, part of that pitch is that we've never seen a more successful year. With all the challenges, we also saw new monies coming in. We saw a tremendous amount of impact. And all of the accomplishments, both fiscally and on the legislative side and on the budget side, is in no small measure due to Colleen, Ryan, having such an effective and dynamic leader has made all the difference for the coalition. So, and my last point is, for those of you who don't know, the coalition is a standalone 501c3. So that we are sort of moving forward in a lot of ways as a nonprofit entity. Marlene, I think those were the highlights. Anything I missed?
Thank you, Melanie. That sounds like it. Just as I had said in a couple of emails that we were using the honor system for voting. So as it stands right now, there were 9 organizations registered who had not paid dues. So given that there are 25, 26 odd people on the call, as long as we're all voting in the, as long as no one's dissenting, we should be good for keeping track of our votes. So that,
I have a question.
sure, go ahead, Madeline.
I just want to know if I'm current. I have been inundated with PPP loans, and I remember asking for an invoice. Melanie, I have no idea if we paid it or not. Can someone please send me a reminder telling me if I did and if I didn't?
I can do that, Madeline. I will follow up
Thank
with
you.
on that. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support as a sponsor. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So speaking of sponsorships, I will move right into the strategic partnerships and sponsorships part of the call because that's Nancy also, and she is still in a motor vehicle. So I will give the quick highlights of our sponsorships. We rely very heavily on our sponsorships. As you saw, our budget is about $100,000 a year, and you can do the math, you know, with 80 members, not even half of them are members. So we do rely on sponsorships from our bank foundations to help support the cost of this coalition's work. So last year, the sponsorship for the 2020 conference series, which became a virtual conference series, was $45,500, although $8,000 was not received until 2021, thanks to COVID. We really want to thank our sponsors, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, M&T Bank, Amalgamated Bank, Capital One, BNB, Citizens Bank, Community Preservation Corporation, Hanover Bank, Ponce Bank, TD Bank, Valley, and Woodforest National Bank. So thank you all very much for that support. Our sponsorship revenue budget goal for this year is $55,000. And our sponsorship so far in 2021 includes Ponce Bank and CPC for a total of $5,000. And we haven't announced any programming yet. So I'm not concerned that that's not going to catch up. Regarding grants, we did not really pursue any grants outside of the bank foundation realm last year, but we do have two grant opportunities on the books for this year, two special projects that we've taken on that are well beyond the realm of our traditional capacity to support. So that would be a grant for phase 1 of the New York State CDFI Investor Club, which we'll talk a little bit more about shortly. We've secured our first grant to support that. That was $15,000 from Coalition Board Member Organization Disability Opportunity Fund. We want to thank Charlie Hammerman for that. We submitted a grant for $110,000 through the New Venture Fund for their Strengthening the Evidence Base for Catalytic Capital line. And that would be for the New York State CDFI Investor Fund program as well, with Impact Finance Center being the significant beneficiary of that funding. We do have plans to submit another grant to support this effort, and we also have plans to submit a grant to support the cost of the diversity, equity, inclusion training for coalition members that we will discuss under new business. So that's what I have for sponsorships and strategic partnerships on behalf of Nancy. And if anyone has any questions, this would be the time to ask them. Hearing none. I would say it's 12:30. I'm delighted that Jennifer Rutledge has joined us, but I have her on the agenda for a little bit later. So I'm going to ask you to hang out, Jennifer, if you will. And Linda MacFarlane, if you are still here. Yes, you are. If you would like to go through the public policy report, that would be great.
Certainly. Thank you, Colleen. In 2020, even as our individual institutions really struggled through the coronavirus global pandemic, we were able to move not one, but two important initiatives forward through public policy. The first is Governor Cuomo and the New York State Legislature funded a 5-year program to allocate $25 million to New York State CDFIs. Members of the coalition worked hard to ensure that the fund will help build the capacity of New York State CDFIs. The second big initiative was the New York State Legislature passed the New York State Small Business Truth in Lending Act, which with vital support and input from coalition members to bring common sense transparency standards to small businesses financing at the time when it really is most needed. The coalition coordinated an effort with members and supporters across the state to urge Governor Cuomo to sign the bill into law. We placed favorable letters or opinion pieces in 8 news outlets around the state, and the governor did indeed sign the bill late in the evening of December 23rd. We are continuing in 2021 with public policy, and we are working with our partners at the state and federal levels to keep up with the expectations of our clients and the needs of our underserved populations. We worked with the Responsible Business Lending Coalition to ensure that the Small Business Truth in Lending Act, which I just mentioned, is implemented in ways that are most helpful to New York's entrepreneurs. We supported a measure to equip the IRS to provide income verification to third parties via summary tax returns. This technology upgrade would enhance security. It would cut down on fraud around income verification, all the while drastically cutting the processing time for requests, which really helps our population. At the request of consumers, it would allow the IRS to send data to lenders, to the SBA, or to other government agencies participating in aid programs such as HUD and the Treasury. It will instantly and securely transmit this information rather than waiting days or weeks for paper processing. In early January, we joined the then soon-to-be Senate Majority Leader, Charles E. Schumer, to discuss the latest coronavirus relief packages and the 2021 agenda. Majority Leader Schumer is an avid supporter of CDFIs, and we're so pleased that he is particularly involved with the New York State CDFI Coalition. In February, we joined Leader Schumer again, along with Congresswoman Velasquez and Bharat Rumamarty, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his last name. He is the National Economic Council Deputy Director, and we were discussing the Biden administration's announcement of a 14-day window for accepting PPP applications only from very small businesses and nonprofits with with 20 or fewer employees, because they were left out primarily of the previous rounds for PPP. Very happy to have that in place. As the legislation session wound down, we monitored several bills in the New York State Assembly and in the Senate that would have been beneficial or have an undesirable outcome. And we continue to maintain a close relationship with New York State Senator James Sanders, who is chair of the Senate Banking Committee. And I just finally want to mention that we are always happy and willing to help our partners in the industry, whether it's collaborating on a Federal Reserve 2021 CDFI survey or helping to promote programs from the Federal Home Loan Bank or other initiatives that are coming up in your specific area. So please reach out and let us know how we can be of support of all of the CDFIs across the state of New York. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Linda. Because we're a nimble organization, I'm going to go off agenda a little bit. We have 2 committee reports yet to go, but I'm going to ask Yanki and Jessie to stand tight and let us bring in our special guest speakers, because we have a couple of people here who are on very tight agendas. And the first one is Dr. Stephanie Gripney. So last fall, the New York State CDFI Coalition embarked on a partnership with the Impact Finance Center to explore the viability of a New York State CDFI Investor Club. Starting in February, we began a monthly series of webinars to showcase the work of New York State CDFIs and to have conversations with investors who have chosen CDFIs as an avenue for impact investing. We have been led in this effort by Dr. Stephanie Gripney, founder and executive director of Impact Finance Center. Dr. Gripney is an academic entrepreneur, that's a mouthful, impact investor, researcher, educator, and the creative force behind Impact Finance Center, Impact Investing Institute, investor clubs, impact investing giving circles, and who's who in impact investing. She and her team launched the National Impact Investing Marketplace to catalyze $1 trillion in investment. Stephanie founded the Impact Finance Center in 2012, and we are so glad to have her with us here today. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Colleen. Can you hear me okay? I'm off-site today at a meeting, so I'm doing a makeshift speech today for all of you. So it's so wonderful to see and meet you. My team hopes to be meeting you over the course of this next year. And if any of you are familiar with accelerators identify, educate, and invest in entrepreneurs. And Impact Finance Center, we're a nonprofit, but we're the investor accelerator. And so just to give you a sense of some of our successes, In Colorado, over the last 4 years, we did a pilot where we sourced over 600 local investments, and that included CDFIs and nonprofit lenders, but also projects, small businesses, startups, and funds. We activated 125 investors, and they invested over $300 million locally. This last year in March, as part of our PPP response in Colorado, because we'd already activated 120 investors, we raised 34 million to support our PPP lenders and CDFIs and nonprofit lenders in the course of a month. This last year, we've also supported OISTA, the largest native indigenous CDFI, and they raised a record 27 million this year. And so what you can think of us as doing is kind of your investment arm. And when we say investment arm, we're actually focused not on the CRA EQ2 dollars, although if they come, we'll happily send them your way. What we're interested in doing is finding the 1.1 million high net worth individuals, private foundations, community foundations, donor advised fund holders, companies, wealthy families who have alignment with investing in New York housing and small businesses and all the great things that you do, and identifying them, educating them, and activating them. And then essentially what we're doing every month is developing a farmer's market. So I was just looking at the stats that we have so far. In the course of our first 5 events, we have actually identified 500 investor prospects for you. And so we will keep doing the events, and we've had over 1,600 people attend those first events. And we'll keep doing the farmers market and growing that list. Meanwhile, while we will start calling those people showing up as investors and saying, are you an active investor, or are you investor curious about investing in New York CDFIs? If you're investor curious, what education and technical assistance do you need to go forward and make your first investment? And we say CDFIs are a great first investment. And if they're actually a real investor, we might say, okay, are you interested in housing or small business or other abilities, or what's your focus area? So we will keep building the farmers market and building that list. Meanwhile, we'll start calling those investors and searching from the investor side down and helping find the right investment opportunities for them, which are all of you. So with that, the biggest thing we need from all of you is, we know you guys have been working so hard for the last 16 months, but anything you can do to help us promote these events with your newsletters, your social media, we would love when we reach out to you for help, for you to help us back by helping promote this. There is no reason Colorado is investing more money in CDFIs than New York. We have 158,000 millionaires. You have 1.1 millionaires. I'm not sure what's going on here and how long it's going to take us to move this money, but we need your help to go identify, educate, and activate these folks and invest in you. And when we say invest, we also blend for in your speak loans. And so in case of OISTA, we just worked with a foundation and said, you know what, in reality, for every $100 they need to bring in the door, $25 of that is grants and $75 of that is 2% money, which means for every $100 coming in the door, it's a negative 24% return. We can work and architect with good people with resources and help them invest in you the way you need to receive investment capital. So we're super excited about the 3 or 4 months that we've gotten going, the fact that we have this many investor prospects and the turnout. And we really are here to say, help us help you. And let's figure out how we go find more of that money and identify them, educate them, activate them, and then connect them with the right folks, which are all of you. Colleen, do you any questions you have for me?
I don't. And, there's so much information that I've made available through email and in our newsletters. If you feel like you've dropped the thread or missed the boat, please just reach out to me and I can give you a primer. I can send you all the links on all the workshops that we've done with staff so that you can kind of regroup and say, oh, okay, didn't really have time to focus, but now that it's June, let's go ahead and try to get engaged in this. So Dr. Steph, I really want to thank you for your time. I know that you're at another meeting today and really appreciate
Absolutely.
the few minutes that you can spend with us.
And the other thing, Colleen, I'll ask, and I'm finding this not to be true, but if there are non-EQ2 CRA investors, so family offices, high net worth individuals, foundations, donor advised fund holders that have invested in you, that are willing to be speakers on the investor panel, we'd also like to hear from that, because that's how we attract others, is we showcase them. So right now, for the next meeting, I'm bringing somebody in from Colorado and California. And what we'd really like to do is keep finding more and more people from New York as examples to say, hey, look, they're doing it. Why aren't you doing it, kind of thing. So thank you again, Colleen.
It's the good kind of peer pressure.
It is.
Thanks, Dr. Zadeh.
And thanks for the opportunity. We're super excited about the project.
All right, take good care.
Thanks.
All right, so we are delighted to be working with Dr. Stephanie Gripney and her team, and there is so much more to be said about that, but time is tight and we're at 12:43. And what I'd really like to do is, again, we're going to stray from the agenda just a little bit. I'm going to ask Jessie and Yanki to be patient before we get back to committee reports. And I'd like to introduce Jennifer Rutledge, who is on the line here. I just want to make sure that she's going to be able to open up her video before I introduce her. I see her.
Here.
There she is. Okay.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's quite all right. It's quite all right. Sometimes people step away. One never knows. Nature calls.
No, I'm still here.
Let me start by introducing Jennifer. This is a quote. The United States is experiencing a reawakening about the pervasive efforts of inequitable policies and systems and the state of race relations in our country. For many who have been on the front lines of civil rights and have engaged in eliminating disparities in under-resourced, underserved communities, the pursuit of social justice is not new. That's how Jennifer Rutledge opened a proposal to the New York State CDFI Coalition. And that is Jennifer Rutledge is the principal of Delphi Consultants. And because New York State CDFIs are committed to providing innovative financing to foster vibrant, healthy, and just communities across the state, we are offering our members the opportunity to collaborate on an effort to address economic inequity. We've engaged Jennifer to help us develop a series of strategies starting this fall that we can deploy in our respective institutions in 2022. It is my great pleasure to welcome someone with more than 35 years of practical, broad-based experience in providing assistance to governing boards, advisory councils and committees, and staff of a variety of organizations, Jennifer Rutledge. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really my pleasure to be with you. Thank you all so very much. I'm so excited to be working with everybody in the coalition and I'm excited to be taking these important steps, critical and timely steps with you to move forward around issues of equity, excuse me, equity and justice, inclusion, diversity, and all of the other words associated with our work. So today I thought that I would share kind of our approach and also some of the major steps. I know I don't have much time, but some of the major steps in the proposal in the process, and then try to answer any questions I can answer, or hear from you, your perspectives on what has been presented in our proposal. I'm going to share, can I share my screen?
I think
Can
so.
I do that?
Let me make
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I
good.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Great. I just, I've been talking all morning, so please excuse me. My throat is a little dry. All righty. So this is the overview of the proposal. Let me just start by sharing our model and our approach. As Colleen indicated, I've been working with these issues for a very long time. Delphi was founded in 1982. And I don't know if you remember, but in the late 80s, early 90s, Workforce 2000 came out, was published. I know I'm dating myself, but it was a study that determined that the world was going to change around us and that it was going to have a major impact on the workforce. Because of the nature of my work, I'm an organizational development consultant that works with organizations of all types and in all three sectors. We do offer consultation and technical assistance in the areas of planning and organizational development. We provide consultation to organizational leadership, company leadership and their cabinets. So it was important for us to begin this work to strategically look at how the workforce was going to change and what this was going to mean for our clients. So we got involved in this very early and did a lot of corporate-wide and organization-wide initiatives around diversity. And we included equity and inclusion in our definition. It has since been expanded and all of that, and many more things have been added to how people approach this, but we included most of it. And we took a strategic look. We took a strategic approach to this that aligned working on the issues and concerns with kind of a planning mode, a planning approach. So our approach and our model really begins with building awareness and commitment. And it just aligns nicely, I think, with the way the coalition is going about addressing this issue. We believe that leadership commitment, the organizational commitment stated and then actual are really important. And in order to get that commitment oftentimes, or to reinforce, reaffirm, and move forward around that commitment, you need to build awareness and educate, learn, listen and learn. Whether you're moving organizations or people forward, we need to learn and listen and learn. And so part of that learning also includes an assessment and analysis of the organization itself, what's being done, what's been done, what can align already, what else needs to be done, and juxtaposing that against what is thought to be exemplary practice. I don't use the term best practice because that's a moving target, but I do think that we can be exemplary in our efforts. And then moving forward to assure that there's an action plan to address what we've learned, what we know, what we want to do, and what we want to accomplish. And finally, an opportunity to monitor our results, process for monitoring our results and opportunities to evaluate progress and course correct as we need to, or take our next steps, which then begins with another reaffirmation of commitment. So that's always been our approach, and that is the approach that I took to putting the proposal together for the coalition. And I just thought I would share with you kind of what I've presented in the deliverables, rather than go through each section and everything. I think it's important that now that you know the way our approach is and the model that our approach reflects, to see how nicely this all fits with what your approach will be to all of this. Of course, we are proposing ongoing meetings as we need to, regularly scheduled meetings with coalition committee members, but also working with Colleen on a survey of the member needs and their efforts that they're currently engaged in. Again, this is part of the assessment. You've already made a preliminary commitment and people are engaged as individuals in their individual learning. But now we need to find out what they've learned, where they are, and what is being done. And so at the very least, a survey and on member needs and what their progress to date might also include other data collection. I like sometimes to talk to folks. I like to find out through focus groups and interviews what is not necessarily conveyed in a survey. So we may also include some of that, not much, but the survey should probably tell us all that we need to know. But in looking at the survey, I always leave the option open to then double back and have conversations. After though the survey, we analyzed the results, and we would then present those results initially to the coalition committee and move forward from there to then have more conversations, those facilitated conversations in depth with coalition members.
And Jennifer, I think I'm going to ask you to wrap right there because we do have a couple of other items on the agenda. I really do appreciate your generosity in putting this proposal together for us. And it's very clear, it's very helpful. And if members of the coalition have questions or would like to review the proposal, we can certainly do that offline. But if anybody, because I know people are starting to have to drop off for other meetings. If anybody has a quick question, we can take that now, or otherwise I would really like to thank Jennifer and let you all know that there will be more information coming on this process.
Thank you all. I look forward to our conversations and to seeing the results of the survey, hearing what's been happening.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Okay, so we did stray a little bit from our agenda, but if we could quickly go back, since we have 7 minutes, if we could quickly go back to communications. I see Yanki standing by patiently.
I'm going to wrap this up in a minute and a half.
Excellent.
And Jules is also on the committee, but just, so thank you everyone for being here. So wonderful to see so many familiar faces. So what does the Marketing and Communications Committee do, since we have such a, efficient and reliable executive director like Colleen Ryan? But just to give you a sense of what our goals are and the roles are. So the primary role of the New York State CDFI Coalition's Marketing and Communication Committee is to increase the visibility and impact of members of the New York State CDFI Coalition members, and marketing outreach focuses on efforts to reach potential members, partners, funders, and other nonprofit organizations that are mission aligned with the coalition. So one of our efforts in the last year and a half has been to develop compelling messages and content, and also identify the most effective ways to deliver the content to the committee and community. And I have to say, let me just get back here so I can see everyone. Colleen prepared a short report for us. So this year has been extremely busy. And thanks to Colleen's help, and it makes us, Jules and me, look really good, the Marketing and Communications Committee. She actually published 24 issues of our newsletter, New Developments, which was filled with resources for CDFIs on, whether it was grants, whether it was new funding, and whether it was initiatives like the initiative that, thanks to Melanie and Colleen, we had with the National Impact Center. You guys heard from Stephanie Gripney earlier. We are very active also, and I think we could improve, but with Colleen's help, we've been much more active on social media. Jules, I don't know if you want to add anything else?
No, just thank you for Colleen for making Yanki and me look good.
Yes, making us look good, and many more, impact stories, success stories of our clients are now featured on the website.
And of course, making sure the network is aware of all the opportunities available.
Absolutely. And now I think I hand it over to Jessie because I see it's 1 p.m.
Well, actually, along those lines, I did want to remind everyone, all of our members, that we are always happy to share your success stories, your milestones, and please, you can send them to my attention. My email is on the website. But yes, Jessie, take it away for program.
All right, really quick. As we all know, because of the pandemic, we couldn't meet in person because of our annual conference. So we got creative this year and did a lot of Zoom sessions. As you most probably know, we did a keynote session on sustainable economics and equitable growth, community land trust, legacy businesses to work with cooperatives, cybersecurity for CDFIs, creating community wealth through the community controlled investment, uncovering opportunities for housing preservation. We were also, like Stephanie Gripney mentioned, we were doing those social impact investment, events as well. All in all, I think on average, we had 40 attendees per event. So I think we had over almost about 8 different events going on, even through the pandemic, which is great news because we still kept in touch with everyone, made sure we kept our members in the loop and continue networking with each other through the programs. What was great is that these videos, these Zoom session videos that we had, are all on the website, and they had even though we only had 40 person per event, 150 people continue to go on and view these videos. So that's quite amazing among all the members. So if you haven't seen them yet, please go to the New York State CDFI.org/2020 conference website. I'll put it on the chat box for you. We're still very excited to launch that. We will be having the DEI training coming up. Look for it. Stay tuned to that. Thanks to Colleen for coordinating and putting all these programs together. It's not easy. She is a master at doing these events and putting these programs together. I honestly thank you, Colleen, for all your efforts and gathering people and coordinating all of it, which leads to these all-hand meetings. All-hand meetings are coming up again. These are really for us members to come together. Right now, we have the board members are doing weekly meetings, but for members, we would like to consider opening up these monthly meetings probably and networking. And in a way, it's kind of talking to each other and releasing some energy that we have. Therapeutic, CDFI therapy with each other, you can call it. So we look forward to Colleen. She'll be discussing more about these all hands meetings. And I think that's the top of the line. Colleen, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much, Jessie, thank you to all the board chairs for their leadership, for their enthusiasm, for their dogged determination to get things done, no matter how busy they were, with their own institutions. It's really a testament to the commitment of the people who work in this industry, how hard everyone has pitched in this year. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your kind words and feedback. We are really at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to leave the all hands discussion for an email. I can't believe we got everything in an hour. I see Greg shaking his head. He can't believe either, because we know how hard it is to try to schedule things like this. I will just very quickly say that we're opening the doors of communication with Empire State Development. You may have seen that there's a leadership change happening. Eric Gerthler is stepping down as board chair, and Patrick Foy is coming back as board chair. So we have reached out to senior staff to open the door of communications with them and have more frequent conversations, probably with Ray Salaberios or Pravina Raghavan, to try to just figure out how we can work together, how we can all participate in this recovery, and how to make sure that we're all aligned towards the same goals. So we will keep you posted. Thank you all, everyone, for the kind notes in the chat. It's 101. So I'm going to say, I hope everybody has a very happy weekend, and thank you all for your support, and watch your email. And if you're not a member, please join. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.